All right, so Series 2, we've got a brushed two-wheel drive buggy. This is the FTX Edge. We tested it out, and we're gonna tell you what we thought. All right, so overall for the price, I had high hopes. It was like 90 pounds, so it shouldn't be, it doesn't have to do a lot to impress for that price. So one thing I was worried about straight away was the battery compartment underneath. I was worried about it popping open, but we did some silly jumps and everything and didn't have any issues with the battery compartment coming open at all. So that was kind of a nice surprise. The wing sticks a bit when you have a crash or something, so we'll probably want to trim those out. We didn't do that yet, but may do. With the rear motor, most of the modern buggies now are mid-motor, so the motor is inside of here. But it just makes it a little bit more tail heavy. You just gotta realize that when you're jumping it and stuff. The tires that came on the front were pretty bad as far as grip wise for the Astro. They probably work good in the dirt and stuff like that. So we swapped them out with some Schumacher staggers and helped. And then let's see, the servo was really slow. And normally with the RTR, you're thinking ready to run. You're thinking, okay, it's gonna be slow, I got it. But it was slow to respond as well. So you would turn in, and then it would be really slow coming back. We had the dual rate turned right up, but on the radio it just makes it turn faster. So when it would turn, like say you turn right, then you would like start releasing it, and it would take forever to get back to the left. So that was one issue we had there. So the servo was really slow. So we thought, well, okay, well, what happens if we want to replace the servo? Well, you can't. I mean, obviously you can, but it's got the five wire plug in the ESC, which the ESC is also the receiver, so it's all in one unit there. So you can't upgrade one without the other. So if you decided, hey, I want to use a different handset with this thing and a different receiver, well, then you're gonna have to go get a ESC as well, because you got nothing to control the motor, because this is the receiver. So you're kind of locked into this with this buggy unless you buy a new receiver and a new ESC, which is kind of annoying. Let's see, anything else on this one? Like I said, it held up pretty good, and the rear tires were pretty good on the Astro. Front tires weren't, so we swapped them out, not a problem. The servo was really slow, which again, with a ready to run, you're kind of expecting that, but just the return throw just wasn't good. And then one big crash, and the servo horn slipped, so we need to get back in there and reset the center, because it's obviously went off a little bit. But overall, if your end goal is to just buy a buggy and go out and drive it around the yard, something like that, then this isn't bad. But if you have any desire to upgrade this, I would advise against getting this thing, just because of the bearings. You have to get different bearings to swap the wheels out, because the ones that just got bushes that pop in, and like my standard bearing wheels I had from some of my old school cars wouldn't fit because the axle shaft in here was too big. So I had to, when I swapped out the wheels and tires, I had to put those inside. I had to put the inserts inside of the wheels, which luckily when I bought this buggy, I bought a new set of front wheels, same exact ones that came on it, so that way I knew they would fit. So, but I had to press the bushes in there, and they're like just copper bushings basically, and they just held in with a Phillips screw there in the front there. So I would not suggest this buggy. That's I hate doing that, but I wouldn't suggest this to anyone that has any inkling of racing. If what I would suggest it for is if you want a buggy just to drive around and you don't plan on upgrading it, or your kid wants to get into the RC hobby, you think, well, we'll spend this 80 quid or 90 quid and see what he thinks. And then you could throw it out there and he could drive around and all this stuff. And then in a year or so, if you want to upgrade, just get another buggy, and then move this one on to someone else that needs it or something like that. But I wouldn't suggest this for racing at any level, just because as your child or as you get better, you're not going to be able to upgrade it very well. You can buy aluminum parts for it and stuff like that, but as far as the electronics and just not bad for the price for just driving around. But this isn't a car you can grow with, I don't think. So you want to, when you're done with this car, you won't be upgrading very much. You'll be moving on to another car. So if that's a step that you're willing to take, or if it's something you're just testing the waters to see if they're going to be into it, or if you're going to be into it, that'll be good for that. But be prepared to move it on. This isn't going to be a forever buggy, you know, that you can grow with. So, but anyway, so for the price, you know, if you're just having fun, you're not worried about racing or upgrading, it's not bad. We put the lipo in there, and the lipo made a big difference, but still, it just the steering really threw it off. Like I said, I've drove a lot of ready to runs. They came with slow servos. I never had a problem with it, but with this, it would turn and wouldn't return. So you'd turn right, and it would like kind of like be really slow to come back left as you're letting off and everything. So yeah. So overall, I wasn't too impressed. Yeah, I know it was only 90 quid, but I was still expecting a bit more for, you know, to get somebody in the hobby. So I owe you a two-wheel drive buggy under 200 pounds that I would suggest. So the search continues. I will find one. So I will definitely find one to push on to you guys to say, hey, this is it. If you got 200 pounds or less, this is the buggy I would suggest. But unfortunately, this one just isn't. So, all right, so stay tuned. We've got a four-wheel drive buggy coming up next on the series. So check that out. Make sure you click the subscribe button so you don't miss it out. And we'll see you on the track. Later.